we need to talk about something that's keeping millions of people stuck in pain with no real answers. Because today we're digging into the three biggest things your doctors and MRIs are completely missing, things that could be the reason you're still in pain, even after trying everything there is, things doctors are not talking about. And these are things that will not show up on a scan, but are things that could absolutely be keeping you in pain, things I see that are being overlooked every single day. And honestly, it's not right because no one should have to struggle for years bouncing around from doctor to doctor only to be told, we don't know, or worse, to be told it's all in your head. Okay, I've been in this field for years, specializing in complex and persistent pain, working with hundreds of women who've been let down by the system. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard people tell me the same thing. Why has no one told me this before? This makes so much sense. And why has no one told me this before? And honestly, you know what? It shouldn't be this hard to get real answers about your own body. If you're anything like so many of the women I work with, chances are you've been to so many doctors, you've done the scans, you've tried all the treatments, but you're still in pain and no one can tell you why. And you're left feeling like something has to be missing because it is. Or maybe, right? Maybe you've got a diagnosis. Maybe it's something like arthritis or disc herniations or like neuropathy. And you've been just led to believe that this is how it is. There's nothing you can do about it. Pain is just your new normal. Like, that's awful, right? Really? Like, we're just going to give up? No. Like, I don't accept that. And I don't believe that you should either. But either way, whether you feel like something has been missed or you feel like you kind of know what's wrong, but you're stuck, either way, you're not getting the full picture. Okay, because the truth is, the medical system is 15 to 20 years behind the research. They still assume that if something hurts, there must be something broken. And if we can't see the something broken on a scan, well, then it must be all in your head. And that is not how pain works. That is not evidence-based care. Okay. MRIs do not tell the whole story. And quite frankly, if your providers are relying on scans alone to guide your treatment, that's a huge red flag right there. Okay. If you've been stuck in pain for months or years, there's a very real chance that what's keeping you in pain isn't what your doctor is looking at. And that's why today I'm breaking down the three biggest things your doctors and MRIs are completely missing, the things that could be making all the difference in your pain and your recovery. So let's get into it. Okay. So, number one is nerve sensitivity. Most people don't know that our nerves can adapt. And this is a huge contributing factor in pain, in chronic pain, right? Nerves can adapt and they become more sensitive. They can become super detectors and they can start firing in response to things that wouldn't or shouldn't normally cause pain. So, for example, I have lots of clients who have more pain due to changes in the weather. Okay, they're sensitive to temperature changes. They can become sensitive to changes in stress. And remember, stress is a chemical. Stress is cortisol. So it's not all in your head. Okay. And this is the problem I have with the folks who say that all pain is in the brain all the time. And while that is true, right? You wouldn't have pain if you didn't have a brain, obviously. But saying that all pain is in the brain, it ignores what's going on in the body. It ignores what's going on in the nerves. Now, nerves can become sensitive for numerous reasons, but it's important to note that nerve sensitivity can change. Okay, just because your nerves can become sensitive doesn't mean it's permanent. All right. So the good news is that we can actually influence this. So nerve sensitivity, do you get pain that comes on for no reason, seemingly no reason? Do you get pain that gets worse long after you do something? Like it's okay during the activity, but you feel more pain later on. That could be because nerves have a latency period. Okay. Now, here's the thing. These adaptations in nerve sensitivity do not show up on our MRIs. It won't show up on an ultrasound. It won't even show up on a nerve conduction study. That's where they check out your nerves, right? That's because nerve conduction studies look for nerve injuries or nerve damage. And they look for if the nerve isn't firing or transmitting correctly from point A to point B. But if the nerve is sensitive, it's not that the nerve isn't firing from A to B, it's that it's firing too much, more than it should be, right? So that's number one, nerve sensitivity. Number two is sensory processing adaptations. Doctors and therapists and even specialists are not taking into account that sensory processing can become impaired, and it creates this kind of disconnect between the brain and body. And it's almost as if the brain is kind of getting bombarded with messages from the body and it can't keep up. And it's as if those messages are suddenly in a foreign language. And so when there's this change in sensory processing, the default response is pain and protection, regardless of whether there's an injury or not. So this could be why you have, let's say, strange sensations, right? Burning, tingling, buzzing, creepy crawlies, itching, right? Sometimes even swelling for no reason. This can be why you feel fullness or heaviness. It might feel distant or foreign or numb. And yes, you can feel numb and painful at the same time. And actually, what you should know is that too much rest, immobilization, avoiding activities and movements that could be painful, even dissociating from the pain, all of that can actually make this adaptation worse. And yet, how many people are recommended rest, right? Stay off of it, don't use it, avoid it, that kind of thing, right? That's because our doctors are trying to treat all pain the same, and it isn't. This isn't an acute injury where rest, ice, elevation, compression is the best treatment. And again, these adaptations are not going to show up on an MRI and are completely being overlooked by our doctors and our healthcare system. But if this is going on, can you see if this is going on, why the physical therapy and injections and surgeries and adjustments won't work, and even anti-inflammatory treatments won't ever work? Because this is a huge missing piece. So that's number two, is this change in sensory processing. Now, number three, the third thing that's being missed is programmed pain responses. Okay, programmed pain responses. So here's the thing. Nerves that fire together wire together. The pain pathway, the neural signature for pain, those synapses get stronger, get more hardwired, get more automatic, the more that pain is rehearsed. It's like this warped form of muscle memory. And not only that, right? If every time you've bent down for the past several years, you've had a spike in pain, that can become a programmed response. The pain can become a programmed response. Those pathways become automatic. Whether or not there's actual physical issue contributing to your symptoms or not, the pain can come on, those pathways can fire automatically, and they can get stronger the more they're rehearsed. And this is actually why, and I know most of you listening don't want to hear this, but this is why pushing through pain or pushing into pain is not helpful. And it could be making the problem worse, because every time we push and crash, the pain spikes, right? We're reinforcing those pain pathways. Those patterns are getting reinforced. But doctors don't understand this. And no, you can't test for this, right? This won't show up on an MRI, right? And not even your physical therapists understand this. They'll tell you that pain is necessary or normal. No pain, no gain, right? But this isn't that kind of good hurt that they're referring to, okay? We need a way to break down those patterns and weaken those automatic pain pathways. But that's number three. Doctors don't understand these programmed pain responses. And for all three of these things, this is what it means to have overactive pain pathways. This is what happens when you have overactive pain pathways. It's not that you're crazy, you're not stressed out, or you're anxious or depressed. It's not all in your head, right? You have overactive pain pathways. This kind of pain doesn't respond to the typical traditional treatment interventions. And yet our medical system, our doctors, and even our specialists, neurologists, the endocrinologists, even the pain management docs are still treating all pain the same, and it's not. If you still have pain despite doing all the conventional treatment methods, it could be that you have these three things the doctors are missing. You have overactive pain pathways. Our medical system has not caught up to the research. They're still operating 15 to 20 years behind the research. And this kind of thing is not taught in medical schools. I wasn't even taught this level of understanding in my graduate level training. I had to read the peer-reviewed journals and read all the textbooks on my own in my own free time. So the research is there, the science is there, but it hasn't found its way into our medical system yet, right? The medical model treats individual symptoms separately, right? You go to a different specialist for every symptom. You get a different prescription for every symptom. No one is looking at the big picture, asking you, oh, you can't sleep. Oh, your gut's a mess. You're exhausted all the time. Your brain feels foggy and you have pain and maybe you have an autoimmune. Like, if that's what's going on for you, it's not a coincidence. All those things can be tied to overactive pain pathways. And the medical system is set up to focus on individual symptoms separately instead of the underlying root cause. The medical system is set up to provide retroactive care. I've had so many clients who have literally been told, call us if it gets worse, come back when it gets worse. So it has to get worse before we do anything about it. It sounds so backwards. They assume you want more pills. They prescribe pain management instead of actual pain treatment. Nothing against pain management, right? No judgment whatsoever, no shame. But where are the strategies? Where are the tools to show you how to stay out of pain and not just manage pain when it gets bad? There's nothing for addressing pain flares. There's nothing to teach you how to move safely again with less pain without flaring your pain up. Everything is medical. And if you don't want more pills or surgeries or procedures or injections or stimulators, they label you non-compliant. They have quick fixes that to mask the pain, but nothing to treat the deeper cause. They continue to treat all pain like acute pain, which is why nothing works. And then, of course, when therapy doesn't work, they assume you didn't try hard enough, right? It's always your fault. Well, listen, it's not your fault. Okay. No one has taught you this stuff. You can continue to rely on your doctors for medical interventions. And also, there is more that you can do to address your overactive pain pathways that you source from outside the medical system. This is exactly why I created the chronic pain breakup method. And actually, the reason I created this program, why I work with clients online virtually. Like, prior to this program, I developed pain programs across the US, and I was the director at a pain clinic, which was overseen by a pain management doctor. And despite all my knowledge and experience in this field, the pain management doctor in charge expected me to play the role of a glorified massage therapist. And it was like, that's not what these people need, right? You don't want to rely on massages for the rest of your life. You want to know what you can do to address the pain, like what's going to have a long-term effect. So that's why I created this program, the chronic pain breakup method, as a means to kind of close this massive gap in the medical system. And this way, my clients learn in depth all about overactive pain pathways. They create a pain prevention plan and a plan for when pain spikes. They learn to break down the strength of those pain pathways using my straightforward framework for pacing, which is pushing to it and not through it. They learn specific movements tailored to their pain that lower the sensitivity of targeted nerves. They learn a series of customized strategies that improve sensory processing. So they learn how to lower the overall sensitivity of the pain system. They even learn how to get back to stretching and strengthening and exercising again safely so they're not activating those pathways or ignoring pain and never knowing when they're actually injuring themselves. So we're actually working on that missing piece. We're actually working on addressing those overactive pain pathways. And I'll tell you, it's wild. 98% of my clients significantly improve their functional ability, their activity tolerance, their tolerance for activity. So if you're listening along and you feel like these things have been missed for you and you have overactive pain pathways, I want you to know that you don't have to figure this out on your own. This is literally my full-time job. I've helped hundreds of women overcome their pain and lower their sensitivity levels and just improve their quality of life. In fact, just last week, I had a client tell me that she had been in constant pain for the last 2.5 years. And this week, she's finally having moments of zero pain. And for the first time in over 2.5 years, she finally has hope again because she can see that recovery is beginning to happen. So if you want to know more about the chronic pain breakup method and you want to know if this process, if my step-by-step proven protocol can work for you, then go ahead and schedule your free pain care call. It's a free conversation. We talk about your symptoms, we talk about your history, and then we talk about your options and whether this is a good fit for you. So go ahead and book that call now. I hope to talk to you soon, and I hope that you found this episode helpful.